are watching the Florida Channel, a public service of the Florida Legislature, WFSU-TV, and Florida State University.
I now turn to the highlight of this year's ceremony. It is my pleasure to announce this year's recipient of the Florida legal profession's highest public service honor, the Tobias Simon Pro Bono Service Award. This year's award goes to Robert G. Kerrigan of Pensacola, a man with a long history of both providing and encouraging others to provide pro bono services. In 1984, he received the Florida Bar President's Pro Bono Service Award. In 1999, he led his law firm in establishing the Helping Hands Legal Aid Center to assist the disadvantaged in his community, a program later assumed by the Escambia-Santa Rosa County Bar Association. When the Pensacola area was devastated by Hurricane Ivan in 2004, he partnered with Rebuild Northwest Florida and established a hotline to help resolve emergency housing and consumer issues. Mr. Kerrigan is also well known for his philanthropy, such as endowing the Florida State University Center for Advancement of Human Rights. The center sponsors 8 to 10 law students each summer to pursue full-time pro bono legal work around the world. It is my pleasure to ask this year's award recipient, Robert G. Kerrigan, to approach the bench and receive your award, shake the hands of the justices, and proceed to the podium for remarks. Mr. Kerrigan.
Justice Kennedy, justices of the court, may it please the court. I actually prefer this arrangement because I don't have to deal with annoying interferences of opposing counsel. I appreciate this immensely, and I want to thank the president of the bar, Ms. Downs, and to the pro bono committee. I pledge to try my dead level best to speak no ill of the bar from this time forward. I'm here today with my wife and my wife Sharon and our daughters. I have 3 daughters that are lawyers that are here in Tallahassee, of all places, and 1 son-in-law that's a lawyer, and their extended families and other family members. There's been a fair debate in the public about too many lawyers. My view is you can't ever have enough lawyers. That lawyers understand that these freedoms that we protect and the rights of the individuals to equal justice is so important that we're not going to cavalierly give up our freedoms for sometimes an illusion of safety. And lawyers appreciate that more than anybody else. I think the more people trained in law, the better. I had the pleasure of meeting Tobias Simon when I was a very young lawyer. I was 29, and he was 42. And he had a remarkable career. Obviously, it was one of the highlights of my young career as a public defender. And a case that the Supreme Court had reversed the death penalty on. In those days, you didn't have the separate proceedings and all. It was just, it was pretty rough. In fact, I had a death penalty case when I was a young lawyer, and the way it worked in those days is the jury returned the verdict, and if they didn't say, "We recommend mercy," the defendant received the death penalty. So you heard the verdict, and then you waited. And in cases that I had, I waited, and they didn't recommend mercy. So that's all changed substantially. So Tobias Simon was there 1972 and was inspirational to me then as a young lawyer with the career that he had, and it's inspirational to me today. On the pro bono work that we did after Hurricane Ivan, we had over 50 lawyers in our community that participated. I'm getting credit for things that others have done in many ways. These 50 lawyers handled over 3,000 families of problems, legal problems. We became experts on falling trees, the law of falling trees, the law of poorly made roof trusses, of rising water, construction, and everything else over that time. It was a terribly devastating hurricane in our community, billions of dollars of damage. And these lawyers all participated, and to this day, people don't know who they are, and they receive very little publicity. So it wasn't one or two of us, it was a whole group of lawyers. I'll just share one thing that happened recently. This had a significant impact on me as I thought about it, and it was this young man that had this little fruit stand in Tunisia, of all places, and apparently ran afoul of the local government authorities. And he was, his little stand was taken from him and his fruit, and he couldn't make a living. And the government agents that did it were apparently rude and abrupt and other things, and just deprived him of a way to make a living. And sadly, he set himself ablaze. But one of the witnesses to it, as reported in the press, said, "Here we see injustice and we remain silent." And I started to think, now what if that happened up here on Monroe Street? Well, here's the way it would work. First of all, we get a group of people together and we go find a stand from somebody, and we get this guy back working. We call Publix and we get just enough fruit to get him going until we could get the bureaucrat or whoever caused this problem to work with us. And if they didn't work with us pretty quick, we'd try to get them fired. And if we didn't get them fired, then we'd sue everybody. Because in this country, when we see injustice, all of the people here have the same approach to this. We see injustice, we do something about it. I think that's what's so remarkable about us. And if we see that the slightest injustice or unfairness to the least of our citizens or non-citizens is really a transgression against us all and against this system. And we all believe that. We believe it sincerely every day. We don't subscribe to the philosophy that if something bad happens to the other guy, it's a minor injustice, okay? It's an injustice to us all. I thank you very much for this recognition. I mean, this is like awfully awe-inspiring to be in this court before these justices, before judges, and all of you. It's overwhelming to me. But I want to thank my mentor through the years, who's here today, who's a Tobias Simon winner, Sandy D'Alembert. Every time I would call Sandy complaining about some injustice or another and ranting on the phone, he would design a course and tell me what to go to do and get to work. Culminating in the establishment of his great vision, I just helped him get the money, which was the Florida State University Center for Human Rights. That's really a superstar success in this country. I'm very proud of that effort. As my name now is added to this list of, it's like waking up in a dream and saying, you mean I'm starting on this team? I'm going to be on this team with all of these wonderful Tobias Simon lawyers. And that's exactly how I feel. That I will remain ever aware that this goes on. This is not something you walk out and forget about. And a tiny little injustice to some poor soul tomorrow, I swear, is going to motivate me more than ever. And I hope for you all too. Thank you very much.
Mr. Kerrigan, to you and to all of those here today who have been honored, let me say that the spirit of public service which you exemplify is truly an inspiration to everyone who loves liberty, to everyone who loves justice. And we thank you, and we are proud to be here in your company. There is no greater cause than serving justice, even when it means that you must place yourself between the just causes of the poor and oppressed and the unjust opinions of the powerful. In so doing, not only do you help those in need, but as Tobias Simon recognized, you help preserve many of the rights basic to our republic. This is the very essence of the rule of law, which has made this nation great. And for their outstanding service to the rule of law, let's give a final round of applause to all our award winners today.